Hello and welcome to the Turn 4 podcast. I am your host, Dan Maldonado. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. This podcast gives a fan's perspective on IndyCar and other forms of motorsports. Tonight, Tim, episode 49, brought to you by Sonsio Vehicle Protection.
Wow.
Sonsio provides a comprehensive lineup of vehicle protection plans. Sonsio offers industry-leading programs that cover tire road hazard protection, appearance, parts and labor warranties, mechanical advisory, and other critical consumer services. Thanks, Sonsio, for the swag. Look at that.
Yeah, I love it.
So this is not the first time. Well, this is the first time I've worn it. This is not the first time you've worn it because you wore it all weekend when we were at COTA.
I did. I wore it during the F1 weekend down in Austin. So yeah, I supported the Sonsio down there, and Team Penske. If you turn it around,
yes,
yours is easier to turn around than mine. It's the official Team Penske hat. And what an appropriate episode to have a Team Penske hat on, right?
Pull it off. Yeah.
After winning 2 championships this year.
Yes, we're going to get into that. Hey, Timmy, we have a correction from our last episode.
Uh-oh. Did I say it?
Listener writes, we had mentioned that we thought Pato was in the second McLaren that was traversing Circuit of the Americas in the chromed McLaren. But as it turns out, it was Zach Brown. That comes from our friend Gacker, comment on YouTube from almost a week ago. So thanks for putting that out there, Gacker. Appreciate you making that correction. We do appreciate that as always. Good to see you're listening too. Always.
I just would have figured Zach Brown had something else to do. Yeah.
No, he doesn't. It's autopilot, man. Just sign great drivers, lots of them, and it's on autopilot otherwise. Right? What else does he have to do?
I go to auctions and buy cars. I think he's got to do that too.
Tim, I forgot to introduce you today. Hey, in case you're wondering, the other voice on there is the co-host of the Turn 4 podcast, brought to you by Sonsio Vehicle Protection, Tim Reiner. Hey, Timmy.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for the introduction. I was getting worried that people were not going to know who I was, but
I want to make sure that we always give you.
Yeah, that helps for sure. It totally helps.
Hey, you had a week away for work, a little work travel, but some of us, I think, would find that kind of exciting. You got to attend the SEMA show.
I did. I went to Las Vegas for about 4 days, whatever it was, and spent some time in Las Vegas, Nevada, really in meetings, a lot of meetings, which is fine. That's what we're there to do. We're there to work, get our stuff done.
Don't want any
well, yeah, people from all over the country go in there. So it was a good meeting. It was a good show. The company I work for obviously has a booth there, so we had a whole staff doing that. So kudos to those guys. But it was a good show overall.
I just want to know if you saw anything cool, like anything that stands out.
There was I don't know if you call this cool, but the thing that sort of attracted me, one was there was a McLaren. That was kind of cool to see a McLaren. Okay. I've seen them, here and there and everywhere. But
the MP421, or are you talking about a road car?
Oh, road car. Yeah, road car. Green. I don't know which one it was, honestly. It was a McLaren. Right. It was green. Not my color. But I think the coolest thing were all of these off-road vehicles, and you and I both have off-road vehicles, but with all these campers and accessories that sit up on these racks, and had almost the awning that comes out too on these big RVs, but they're doing it on these Jeep Gladiators and stuff. So that was cool. Some of the Rivians were out there, kind of the same gig. Oh. So some electrification, things of that sort. Saw Lucid for the first time too. I don't see many here in Michigan. So that was pretty cool to see in person and just see the finish on that, whether it's, the seams or just how they do the interior and stuff like that. So that was cool. And then there was cars ripping it up and tearing up tires and all that good stuff. But I think the other thing is I saw a few guys walking around with F1 gear on, which I was surprised to see. Yeah. Someone with Red Bull and another one with Mercedes, and the Red Bull guy was drinking a Diet Pepsi. And I was going to track him down and say, you got the wrong beverage in your hand, but he was walking too fast for me, so I never caught him. But and then I saw some signage for F1 for 2023 going on, and it looked like, based on what I saw on Twitter, that some people were actually doing some promos down on the boulevard on the main strip while I was there, and I didn't know about it, so I didn't make it down there. So that's kind of
probably going to be the biggest F1 race in the United States ever.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it's looking like.
So
But
can
I
we
think
talk?
I saw
Can
the
we talk
site of the
us?
new home of
Oh,
their
really?
F1 because they
That they're
had
building.
all the banners around that sort of like construction stuff going on when
Mhm.
we went to Top Golf.
Cool.
Yep, there you go.
I like that Top Golf.
It was nice. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that Top Golf.
we had like the whole conference area and stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah,
We had a good
very
time.
cool.
Yeah.
Electrification. You've been to SEMA before, haven't you?
Yeah, it's probably my
So
fifth time,
is
something
this
like that.
so? Is this the most obviously the most electrification you've seen at a SEMA show?
Yeah, I think so.
Were you surprised
Tesla
by it?
was no, it wasn't. It didn't dominate by any means. It's
Hmm.
still,
Yeah.
F 250s jacked up with huge tires and all that good stuff. I think it surprised me that there wasn't more, honestly, because
Yeah.
they've got a little section of it. I think Tesla at one time had a ride and drive that was way off on the backside that I've never seen. I think the biggest thing that surprised me was Ford took down their large display that they've had for years and years.
Oh,
So they sort of stepped back a little bit from what I could tell being at the show. And they used to have last year they had the Broncos, right? So they had the Broncos in the off-road course. They had the Mustangs out there ripping it up on the pavement.
Mustangs
But
or Mach-E's?
Mustangs, not the Mach-E's. Yeah, I only see Mach-E's around town here. Um, so yeah, that kind of surprised me. But overall, electrification was still all about ICE vehicles, as we call it in the industry.
Yeah. We are what a month into our foray into a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle.
That's
We're
right.
averaging about 37 mile mpge right now in
For an
the
SUV.
yeah, in a heavy one, right?
Yeah,
It weighs 5,000 pounds.
that's pretty cool. I know
And
mine doesn't get it because I
it's
drive
like,
the same vehicle.
yeah, it's like a video game now to my wife. It's like
It's a
it's,
challenge.
yeah, it is. Um, and it's pretty cool. I mean, we have our second tank of gas in there. We've had it, like I said, about a month. It'll be a month at the end of this week.
Just your second?
Our
Filled it
second
up
tank of
twice?
gas, and we haven't even used it yet. It's still full. It's still 100% when
Wow,
you look at it on Uconnect.
that's pretty cool.
So I'm a buyer on this technology. I think it's definitely, in this particular case, it works for us, right? It
You know
doesn't
what?
work for me. I drive too much for work.
Hmm.
But in this particular case, with what driving around town and the small trips and things that my wife does, it's right on.
Hmm. Seems like it fits right in with what IndyCar is doing with the
Yep.
hybrid engine that's coming.
Yep. And everybody's doing that, right? I mean, Formula
Mhm.
One's ultimate purpose is right to go renewable and everything there too. So it's coming. It's coming quickly. I don't know that we're all going to be cruising around in silent vehicles by 2035, but it's coming. It's coming, and it's now. Granted, ours is a plug-in hybrid, so once it's dead, it's just going to move on to gas. So
Mhm.
there's no real anxiety about your range that go like Bill from Shelby, always talks about. He talks about the range anxiety. He's got some, he has a friend in the business, and he talks about that. And I have
Mhm.
no doubt that that's definitely the case. But in our case, the thing peters out a battery, and it's just going to switch over to the ICE, the internal
Yeah.
combustion. So, but right now I'm solidly in favor of it. I think for where it's at, costs
It's
us a
good to hear
buck 80 a
for
night to fill it up.
us middle-aged men that
Mhm.
have a hard time trying to see if that's the right way to go or
Yep.
what you want to do. So it's good to hear from your perspective and how things
Yep.
are going with that new vehicle that you bought.
Yeah. Well, if we have any fans left on this podcast, we can move into motorsports since we got off on the electrification. But hey, I want to start with NASCAR. I don't know that we've ever started one of our episodes with NASCAR, and
Never.
starting kind of on a sad note, of course. Um, Hard to begin, but I think it's the right place to begin. I mean, Coy Gibbs, son of Joe Gibbs, coach the Washington
Mhm.
football team. Second son of the Gibbses, died at a young age, 49 years old. It was announced right before NASCAR suited up for their final race of the season that he had died overnight. No cause had been given, and as of this recording, we don't have a cause. I cannot understand. I have children, as you do, 3 children of my own. I don't know how it is a parent can bury or say goodbye to their child like that on a permanent basis. My mother has done that. I have 2 deceased siblings. I don't know how you get the strength to do that, but we're going to lift up the Gibbs family
Mm-hmm.
as best we can, and think good thoughts and send it their way, and hope that you can have a small bit of consolation with the year that Ty Gibbs had, and
Mm-hmm.
the fact that his dad got to see him win that trophy and stand beside that trophy with Ty and his mom and his dad, and to be able to do that. So I think was a special moment, obviously, and something that
Mm-hmm.
we'll try to treasure those final hours whichever way they can. So
Yeah, pretty shocking.
yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
horrible.
Yeah.
And then obviously congratulations to Joey Logano, Cup Series champion. This is his second Cup Series championship, his first in 2018. The first time, am I right in saying this, Timmy? The first time a team has won both the IndyCar Championship as well as the NASCAR Championship in the same season.
That is true.
So congratulations to Roger Penske, Team Penske, and everybody involved at Penske Racing. I have this 600 wins hat still, right? And
Oh yeah.
this is far obsolete now.
Yeah,
They've had such a
absolutely.
good year. But
Mm-hmm.
so congratulations to them. We did see Roger there. Roger, of course, was wearing his white Indianapolis Motor Speedway hat. He did eventually change to the more appropriate whatever it was after that. But
Yeah.
congratulations to them. Logano was going to win this thing. He was bound and determined to. He led the most laps from pole. He wasn't going to be robbed of this. I think there's some hangover from 2020, where he was in it to the end and just missed.
Yep.
And like I mentioned, first time for Penske in both IndyCar and NASCAR. Tim, that kind of surprises me.
Yeah, me too, a little bit. I didn't,
Mhm.
but I think it's got to be difficult to do. Obviously,
Sure. They
Penske
have a
said they've
lot
been
more
trying.
races, right? 30 some
Yeah,
races this season.
yeah. Said they've been trying for 31 years and finally made it happen. And the other team that I thought might have done it was Chip Ganassi, but
Right.
I was going to do some research on that, but then I saw some information that said that was not the case. That was the first time ever. So congrats to Roger and the whole team, and obviously Team Penske all the way around. They dominated.
Got some other news this past weekend. Jimmy Johnson, yeah, that Jimmy Johnson, has bought a stake in Petty GMS Racing Team. He credits Chip Ganassi for the encouragement to do such a thing, which I find very interesting. Tim, what does this say about where the king is, Richard Petty, is
Yeah,
in his career as a team owner?
yeah. I think it's Richard's got to be getting old. I don't know what his age is, but man, he's been around forever.
Yeah,
Um, I think he needs some young blood. We'll call it young blood from Jimmy Johnson, and I would imagine that he has the business acumen in order to run a team and contribute to that team, and then maybe eventually take it over. But it's good to hear that Chip sort of mentored him on this and said, you can do this, and this is probably the way to go and how to do it. So I'm sure there was some consultation there. But for the King, I think it's time, man. He like I said, anybody know his age?
yeah.
I
He
don't.
just celebrated his 85th birthday in July, July 2nd, 1937. He's 85 years old.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of the Petty Racing team and what goes on there, but I can't imagine he's in there every day doing stuff. So maybe seems like a good move, right? Jimmy's a stand-up guy, right, and very
Yeah,
good.
you said business acumen. I don't know anything about his business acumen. I mean, he is a nice person. He's definitely seems to be a nice guy. I mean, very humble, right? You
Hmm.
can't not be humble in the 2 years of IndyCar racing that he just endured.
True.
Um, but I think from my perspective, how I look at this is this team has nowhere to go but up. It's been kind of down. It's been kind of a field fill, kind of similar to what we see in AJ Foyt racing in IndyCar, right?
Yeah.
A legend of the sport, not really putting out the most dynamic product
Yeah.
and hasn't for many, many years.
Yeah.
So what
Um,
Jimmy's going to bring to that probably is some polish to, maybe that other side of it, right? The being able to understand some of the new ways of doing business and social media. And Jimmy had that YouTube channel that he did with Carvana and IndyCar, and being able to sort of elevate that team in other ways that they've not been able to do. They have that new partnership with GMS Racing as well that bought into the team last year. So I think as this team continues to evolve, this is where this is. This could be the sunset of the King's career as far as being, a team owner. He
mhm.
looks good though, man. He's 85 years old. He doesn't look he's got any problems getting around or any problems, being being what he wants to do on a
No.
day-to-day basis. So I
Well, and I
think
think you got to
it's
go back and look at the Petty Enterprises and just they've had a lot of championships, but it's way back in the 50s and 70s. So
yeah,
it's been a long time since they've been at the top of the chart. So maybe this will help.
he's an icon of the sport. The cars are iconic, right? With
Mhm.
the right, we remember them as the STP cars, and then we remember the Miller Yellow, right? That
Oh
Kyle
yeah.
Petty drove,
Yeah, totally.
and
I
but
when I first started watching NASCAR, that was the guy I wanted to see win was Richard Petty. Well, he got his 201st career victory. I think that was his final.
yeah,
It was 201. But yeah, I remember watching that, and that car is, as you mentioned, is very iconic,
mhm.
and it goes a long way.
The
So,
43, yeah,
hmm
like the 14 in
hmm
IndyCar. So
yeah, absolutely.
these are
Copenhagen,
very
right?
similar to me. Yeah, these are very similar situations to me, right? Where you have aging legends of their respective series and both continue to be team owners. It wouldn't be right to not have the name involved or be involved in one way or another, but you want to see them succeed.
Yeah.
I see them put a decent product out. Hopefully Jimmy can help them out. I don't know if this partnership now with owning a Chevy team would stand in the way of Jimmy's opportunity at Indianapolis, if there is an opportunity at Indianapolis. And I don't really know that there is, but I
hmm
guess we'll wait and see, right?
Yeah. It's all we can do.
Yep. I am just going to drop a subject out here and I'm just going to let you go for it, okay? Ross
It's only,
Chastain, the
yeah.
wall, the pass. Go ahead, Timmy.
Could you believe that? I was I was shocked. You told me to just go ahead, but I want to have some dialogue on this. I was
Oh, there will be. You
oh,
know
there
there
will
will
be.
be.
What what a move. Like the first time I saw it of him riding the wall down the through turns 3 and 4, I was wondering what is going on? Is this really actually happening or is this someone superimposed this on the screen and it's not really happening? But you go in knowing that you need 2 spots in order you're going into the final lap of the race, knowing that you need 2 spots to get in the final 4 for the championship at Phoenix, and you come up out of turn 2 and go, "I've got an idea," and so you just lean it against the wall at full throttle, let the steering wheel go is my understanding, right? And just ride it all the way through, and you pick up 5 spots, and you pass Denny Hamlin, right, who
Yep.
was the guy he was trying to catch anyways, and you seal your fate to go in the top 4. Uh, I don't know, man. I'm shocked that they let it go and let it happen, but I guess there's nothing in the rule book. And at the end of the day, it's a very interesting move that obviously was picked up from playing video games, I would imagine.
I cannot imagine it came from anything other than, right? He did finish second in the championship this season behind Joey Logano. That got him into the final 4, right? Or
Correct.
whatever
Yeah.
NASCAR calls it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I heard about it, of course.
You saw it on
Started
Twitter
seeing it
though,
on
right?
Twitter. Oh yeah, all over the
Yeah.
place. And then it even came up at my team meeting last week where I had out with, my group, and
hmm
even came up during that, and we played it on the big screen so everybody could see it. And there was only one other racing fan in that group of people that are in my group. And we played it, and they were shocked by it, and they couldn't believe the audacity for that. He's
I know.
29 years old. I don't think somebody who's late 30s, early 40s would pull off something like that, because I don't think they would even think to do something like that. I think you're exactly right. It's a video game move. right? That's Gran Turismo, that's NASCAR racing, or whatever else you want to call it, right? Grand Theft Auto. Just let it go and let it ride around the thing. The other thing he has going in his favor here is this car. This car is a tank. Unfortunately, has a downside to it because it's injuring some folks. Yep. But the previous cars would have never been able to sustain that level of damage for that length of time to get up there, right? He would have definitely ended up pulling something apart or getting snagged on something. But a part of me wants to say, that's awesome. Good job, dude. Right? Part of me wants to say, no, that's not in the spirit of the rule, right? But as I'm getting a little older, I'm starting to find out there are no spirits of the rule, right? Either there is one or there isn't one. And
there isn't one.
There isn't one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many people sent me a text, sent me the video. Yeah. Oh, nice. You got your coffee. Every show, the coffee shows up off the screen, of course. So if you're watching if you're listening to us, you'll never see the coffee get delivered, but it always happens every show. But yeah, I don't know how many people. It was a topic of conversation, I think, everywhere. So it brought people back to NASCAR a little bit that have been fleeing. And people were sort of interested in what in the world happened. And I'm sure viewership helped in going into Phoenix after that. And did you watch any of Phoenix, by the way?
Nope.
Gosh, that layout. I don't know what's going on there.
They changed it too, right? They tried to.
Yeah, like the start finish line is between turns 4 and 1, but it's in the corner. It's so bizarre. And no track limits, way down below the yellow line. Drive wherever you want. It's very bizarre. But hey, riding the wall if it works. I can't wait for Martinsville next year. And
there will be a rule change in the off season. There's no doubt in my mind there will be a rule change.
Yeah. Somebody put casters on their on the side of their.
I saw that. Yeah.
On the side of their car, if you will, to make sure they don't do so much damage and just whip it around full throttle.
IndyCar should try that at Texas.
That's thinking outside the box, right? That's totally thinking outside the box.
That's what I'm saying. Only somebody who's 29 years old would come up with such a thing. Gosh. Timmy was born in 1992. When did you graduate high school?
Just about then. Yeah. Wow. That's insane. It was something to watch. It's gonna be repeated and live on social media forever. And
he'll be more famous for that until someday he wins a championship.
And you finished second in the points. Can you imagine the
Trackhouse? Now, here we go. We didn't research enough, apparently, right? Trackhouse. This is the former Chip Ganassi Racing.
Oh, nice.
So finished second. Good for him.
Yeah,
good for him. F1, Tim. Or Mexico Grand Prix. Snoozer.
Total.
I didn't enjoy that at all. We left about halfway, had something to do, so we left, and I thought, I'll finish it when I get home. I never did. In fact, I just deleted it off the DVR.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. I watched the beginning. Danica was on. She was announcing at the pre, so I saw that.
She was.
And so she was there, and, it was packed. I'll tell you that much. But again, Max basically winning all these events. And I think I even put a post, what was his 14th win, career high for any F1 driver in a season.
Yeah. So breaks the record for the single season.
I know. And I guess my thought is, man, I don't want to see that happen anytime soon.
Do you know who it was before that?
Schumacher, wasn't it?
And?
Ayrton Senna. Those are going to be my guesses.
Vettel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what that was. Looked like a deer. Those are the last two. It had 13, right? So
yep, 13 apiece.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. Brazil's coming up this weekend. Can't wait.
It is, and I'm seeing storms in the forecast for Brazil.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that'll make it interesting.
Should be very interesting, right? Because rain is the great equalizer.
It is. You just need a steady, light rain. Nothing super heavy. Otherwise, it will get red flagged.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
We know that.
Yeah. F1 doesn't race in the rain.
No.
Tim, Mercedes says that they would rather get a race win before the end of the season than beat Ferrari to second place in the Constructors' Championship. You buying that?
I'll buy it. I think they want Lewis Hamilton to get his victory, so that way he's got every season he's ever raced, he has a victory. So that would be the only purpose that I see them wanting that to happen. So if it's George Russell or Russell George, as Daniel Ricciardo calls him, then
helmet Marco helmet.
Say that again.
Helmet Marco helmet. That's from our other favorite podcast. Says that all.
That's so great. So if it's Lewis that takes the victory, yes. If it's George Russell, then maybe not. I don't know. Do you buy it?
Nope. I think they're saying all the right things because it's what you say. I think they're okay finishing behind Ferrari. I think they're okay not having a win because it's going to give them well more development time, the CFD and the wind tunnel time, than both Ferrari and Red Bull, and that's what they're in desperate need of because they're going to have a concept change of this car because they cannot go forward with this car, so they need more development time. Third place is a benefit to them. It's some humble pie, there's no doubt, but it's a benefit to them, and it might be something that they can just suck up and manage for this year to get themselves back on for next year.
Yeah, I saw an article from, I think it was a chief engineer or someone on the team that said when they designed the car that they finally figured out what the flaw is, but it's so deep ingrained within the car that they can't really fix it this year.
Yeah, and you can't spend $220 million fixing it like you could last year or the year before, right? Yeah. Just keep throwing money at it. Yeah. Run the wind tunnel 24/7, doesn't matter, right? They'll figure it out. Now they can.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I was looking at some of the technical upgrades from Mexico and some of the test parts, especially that Mercedes has run. I love that. I'm kind of a closet engineer when it comes to stuff like this. I love looking at the changes. You see them on motorsport.com. And with this cost cap, the parts that they're testing are so unfinished. Like they don't look good. You know what I mean? Wow. They look very amateurish, right? They don't look polished and perfectly pristine like you come to expect in Formula One, which is, I can't speak for you, but it's what drew me into Formula One was the sexiness of these cars, right? How beautiful, even with the crazy appendages and the high nose and whatever else, the cars at the end of the day were very sexy, very well polished, perfectly pristine, right? And that's one of the things that I always loved about it. You look at some of these test parts and it's like, oh, that thing looks terrible.
Yeah, they're clunky and not so polished, as you mentioned.
Yeah. So,
but I hope they figure that out. Yeah, I think if you just got to figure out, hey, does this work to some type of advantage before we pour more money into it, then that's what you do. You go, you know what, this is as close as we're going to get without spending over our cap. And from there, we'll, if it seems to work, we'll continue on with it.
Right. I also think Ferrari wouldn't mind taking their foot off the gas too and finishing third in the Constructors' Championship because that'll also get them some more development time for their car. Although I don't think their car necessarily needs a lot of development time. I think they need, some engine, reliability fixes there. Maybe
strategy
some
help.
Yeah, strategy help.
Just been poor.
Things like that. So the car is, well developed, but I guess we'll see.
I think they gotta work on, they can get the one lap, but they can't get consistency over a stint. And so that's where they're falling behind their competitors. Besides all the other stuff that's happening with them, if they can get that down, then I think they'd be really good. So it could be tire drag maybe on those cars. It just chews them up a little more than what the other cars do.
Which I think is George Russell thing too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great at one lap, right? Good qualifier. Yep. He's super speedy when it comes to that. Doesn't seem to be able to get the length of the tires that Lewis Hamilton can.
Although I did see that Lewis is out qualified in the last 7 races or something like that.
But that's also, we talked about that when we were at COTA with you and your son. Those cars are built around the team leader, and they're built around Lewis Hamilton. They're built around Max.
I know.
Built around Charles Leclerc.
I still have a hard time with that, but I'm sure that is the case.
It's what it is. But I also think that if it suits one driver and the way that driver drives, and you're going to build your car around Lewis Hamilton, and this are Lewis's strengths and how he manages the tires, it's going to be a little harder for somebody like George Russell to do it.
Yeah.
Differently. It's his first season in with Mercedes too. So
he's done well.
Yeah, he's done fine job. He came out of Williams, so there's some opportunity there.
Anything to it so when we're at Austin, we didn't talk about this. They both came out separately. Lewis by himself
I know. How weird was that?
and George Russell by himself, which
Yeah.
should we read anything into that with the
I
team
don't know.
dynamics? Every other team came out with both people.
To
We
combine,
didn't see
together.
we didn't see Friday, but at least on Saturday,
Yeah.
everybody that came out, which was the majority of the teams and majority of the top runners
Yeah.
came out.
So what we're talking about is during the USGP weekend on Saturday, well, throughout the weekend, drivers and teams were made available to the crowd. They had them on stage with one of the F1 commentators. They came out and asked some questions. We saw the Ferrari team, Mercedes, Alpine. We
Red
saw
Bull.
Williams out there.
Didn't we
Did
see
we
Red
see
Bull?
Max and Checo out there? Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
So we saw them all come out and
we didn't
speak
see
on
McLaren.
stage. We did not see McLaren.
The day before.
Right. What we're talking about is all those teams except Mercedes came out as a team. So both drivers came out and spoke to the crowd. They took questions. They did the selfies. They were great, right? I think they did a really nice job with that.
They did.
Lewis came out on his own, dressed as only Lewis can be dressed, right? Yep. And then George Russell came out. I almost said George Hamilton. That's a totally different dude. George Russell came out afterward and did his line of questioning separately. So it was a little strange that they did that.
It was a little
Does it
odd.
speak to dynamic? To me, yes, because I do a podcast and it's great, right? Speculation.
Yeah.
Is it? Who knows?
Yeah.
But
we never brought it up on the Austin show, but it was a little bizarre, I thought. But I think here's what I think. I think Lewis is like bigger than life for whatever reason. Obviously, all his championships, things of that sort, and I think he just has such a presence that maybe it makes sense to separate the two when they come. I don't know. And George is going to be dressed in all the Mercedes gear, and Lewis is just going to wear what he wants. Totally what he wants, right? Totally up there doing his thing.
Yeah,
but very well polished. Very good speaker.
Oh yeah, very good. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying, if I were Fernando Alonso, I'd be like, I'm not going out there with Ocon. If that were the case, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you would think so. Yeah. I don't know. Very bizarre.
So there's nobody else on the grid to me that has that level of gravitas, right? It's Fast Freddie and Lewis Hamilton. And I'm Max to a degree, but Max doesn't seem to be
Vettel, though. Who's you think about it,
pretense. He has no pretense. I don't think Sebastian Vettel has any pretense to him at all. I see him just as comfortable in a Volkswagen, Bug or trying to think of whatever, a Passat or something, as he would be in a probably even more comfortable than in a Bentley or an Aston. I don't see him as having too much in the way of pretense.
Okay.
Max's plane speaks pretense, but I don't really know if Max has pretense.
His plane?
Yeah. When you see his plane.
I've never seen it.
Yes, you have. I've sent you pictures of it.
Oh, I guess I'll have to look at it closer next time.
Here's our relationship in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
F1 drivers, speaking of F1 drivers, they're whining about the proposed tire blanket rules changes for next year, going from 70 degrees C to 50 degrees C. They're all complaining about there's going to be a lot of crashes. I'm going to have some crashes out there. So we shouldn't do that to us because we're going to have some crashes.
Just get rid of them altogether.
Yeah, because how do IndyCar drivers do it?
Yeah, you go out there on cold tires and you figure it out for a lap or two till the temps come out.
Yeah, I tweeted that and somebody said, it's because the first turn's always got a camber to it. No, dude, there's no camber at turn one at Road America. There's no camber at turn one, right, at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
Or at Detroit.
Yeah.
Right? None. There's a wall and some bumps, but there's no camber. Yeah. So spare me.
Yeah.
On that
I don't know.
But apparently, because I did do this much research of it. If you're watching us on YouTube, you saw it's not a lot. Apparently, it's an energy savings measure because F1 wants to go green.
I say just do away with them and move on, and life will be good. I think every driver will adjust.
I'm fine with it.
Fine. Yeah, I'm fine with it too.
Red Bull cost cap breach. Tim, a big deal, or is it a big deal? Question mark, or is it a big deal?
I think it's a big deal with a question mark. Like it's a big deal. Like I know it's year one, right? So I guess there's a little bit of leniency when it comes to that. I just don't. Here's what I don't understand. I don't understand how you have a negotiation with the team on what the um, fine should be or what the
It's a
penalty
plea
should
bargain.
be. Yeah, it's bizarre. Like if you're the
Yeah.
sanctioning body, then you just say that this is your fine or this is your, deduction. This is your penalty and off you go. But maybe there has to be some reasoning so you don't make everybody angry within the
Well, everybody's already angry about it, right? So you figured might as well just get it sorted out. $7 million
yeah,
fine. They get some development reduction. I don't think the fine really matters. That team is flush with cash.
yeah.
Development time might hurt them a little bit. Their car, they hit it right on the nose for this year. So, there's some tweaks maybe for next year, but
Yeah.
the rules stay pretty static. I don't see that the development time is going to hurt them that much.
Yeah. So kind of a slap on the wrist.
Kind of, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, you know what my take is? Big deal. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
I think it goes on more often. I'm not pointing fingers, but I think it happens all the
I'm
time.
sure
And that's how
it goes on a
innovation
whole lot
happens,
more.
right?
Remember when Ferrari had a thing a few years ago about their engine and the whispers about they had figured out how to trick the FIA's spy system that the FIA has a system on the cars, on the engines, that measures fuel flow at regular intervals. There was rumor that Ferrari had figured out a way through their own software to use more fuel, but dial it back when they knew that the FIA measurement system was taking measurements.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't surprise me.
Ain't cheating, ain't trying.
Yeah, there's been emissions
Because remember those cars
tests like that too that have
fast.
happened just in the domestic world. And
Yep. Oh yeah, I had a Volkswagen. I had to sell it back. It was one of the best cars I've ever owned in my entire life. One of the best cars I've owned in my entire life. I still see them on the road right now and miss the car.
I know.
I loved that car. I'd get 700 miles out of a tank of diesel in that thing. I drove to Parkersburg, West Virginia and back on the same tank.
Yeah.
It was one of the best cars I ever owned in my entire life. And there you go. Yep. Soft spot for me. That really bums me out.
I know. But you look at always looking at the rule book and trying to go outside the rules or find a loophole in the rules. You look at what Roger Penske did with the pushrod engine, right? They totally looked at the rule book.
That wasn't cheating though. Yeah, that was.
It wasn't cheating. It was also so it was looking for different scenarios where you could get the competitive advantage, and I think that's it's kind of
Red Bull was trying a lot of race fans. Loophole.
What's that?
Red Bull was trying to create a loophole.
Yeah.
Saying no, that shouldn't count. No, that shouldn't count.
I get it.
No, that shouldn't count.
Good stuff.
Yeah. IndyCar. I'm going to say it. I don't think IndyCar social media does that great a job keeping the series in the mind of fans.
You just threw it out there, huh?
I am. I'm throwing it out there because you. I know you were going to get to this later, but I think this is the right time, Tim.
What?
NASCAR off season started 12 hours ago, right?
Yeah.
They start again in 91 days.
Yep.
IndyCar starts again in 171 days.
From when they ended, yep.
From when they ended, right? Baseball, 130, that just finished. Football has 112 days between the end of their season and the start of the new season.
Yeah.
WTF, IndyCar.
Yeah.
That comes to us from Chef Brian, so thanks for that. But what we're saying here is you have to do something to keep your series and your people in the frame of mind, right?
Yeah,
somewhere in the influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's an Indy Lights rebrand. Okay. Notable, but to me, not newsworthy. And it's a goofy name. Indy Next NXT.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I was wondering if NXT was like the sponsor for a minute there. I was trying to figure it out. I'm a little slow, so I was like, well, what's going on here? And then I was like, no, it's presented by Bridgestone or Firestone, whatever. So I was like, okay, that's not it. It's like IndyCar's Next, right? Indy Next series. It doesn't do anything for me. I had a conversation about this at the Las Vegas airport, actually. And And I think that individual that I was speaking to, who I haven't spoken to in a long time, but I know is a big IndyCar fan and lives here locally and was on the same flight with me coming back out. And he had mentioned, he goes, you know what, this missing off the schedule, which I didn't think it was a big deal. And I know it's been off the schedule for a little bit, was the Freedom 100, which is the Indy Lights event. I'm going to call it
Yep.
Indy Lights event at Indianapolis Motor Speedway during the month of May. And so in talking to this individual, he had mentioned that, you know, they go in every Wednesday for the race and then stay through Monday for the Indy 500. And it was a big draw. It was a good race. It was a lot of fun for those fans that were there for the whole weekend. And for some reason, they're not putting it back on the schedule. So that was the big thing that this individual took away from the rebranding, was they still don't have the Freedom 100 out there,
Yeah.
which they feel they should.
Yeah.
And that's just hearing it from the fans. That's another fan that said, you know what, this is what we'd like to see. So
Yep.
I know we've got a lot of listeners in the Indianapolis area, so take it to heart. Fans want to see
Yeah,
it.
I would suspect that cost is probably one of the factors for why they do that. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying what would come to my mind would probably be cost.
But you're all there for a month.
Right.
Like,
What I hope they're not foolishly doing is trying to think that it's diminishing or watering down what you're doing on Sunday by having this race on Friday.
I wouldn't think so.
I would hope not.
Yeah, because it's not by any means.
But it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise
Well,
me.
hopefully they put it back on the calendar. I think it needs to go back on the calendar.
What waters it down for me is having 2 road course events at that track throughout the course of the season.
I agree.
Yeah. So Juncos, our favorite team, right? Executed a demo in Argentina.
Yeah.
Did you see this?
Yeah,
Presumably
they've been out there.
they did this to gauge some interest, maybe a Argentinian race.
Yeah.
Horizon. Of course, Ricardo Juncos is Argentinian. Probably looking to drum up some support for his team. We know that he announced the second car, that he's going to expand to a second car. We haven't confirmed the second driver yet. I guess it would have been expected that Agustin Canapino, who was the driver for the demo laps, would be that second driver, but that's not yet been confirmed. I did note, though, I did see the video. Did you see any of the video of this? That's pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Good crowd, decent crowd. Not the Marcus Ericsson crowd in Sweden, but we'll talk about that in a minute. It was a good crowd. They had a couple of sponsors there too. YPF, which is an Argentinian energy company, and the second one is Exportos en Seguros, or insurance experts. Don't know anything more than that, other than these could probably be personal sponsors for Agustin. But it was good. It was good to see them do that. You know, it was good to see that Ricardo's taking it into his own hands and trying to create some excitement and see what he could do to, you know, help build his team out.
Yeah. It's very interesting process they're going through and development and a way to promote the series in Argentina. So I guess I wouldn't be
more for promoting IndyCar in the off season than anybody has in the last 2 weeks, including the Indy Next announcement.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I think maybe other teams need to take note of this. But you know, and obviously the series does. But I guess I wouldn't be surprised if there's a race that does happen in the near future, and I'm sure they're in talks with Roger about what they're doing and what's going on, and they're looking at the optics to see if it makes sense to go down there, because there's always talk of going back out of the U.S. here to have a race. And I know we have one in Canada, but you know, south of the border rather than north. So good deal.
The series has always had tremendous support in South America.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yep.
Mexico and South America. So, you know, to me, it makes sense. You know, does it make sense financially? Does it make sense for the series? Don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it from a fan's perspective. Newman Haas, Timmy, sold over $6 million in IndyCar assets last week, auctioning off cars and mainly cars, right?
Mainly, yeah.
Yeah. Graham Rahal, I picked up a couple of his old Delaras from when he raced for that team.
Yeah, and what the biggest purchase was by Zach Brown, who purchased Nigel Mansell's car when he claimed the IndyCar crown and was still the reigning F1 champion, I think for a week or something like that, for almost $1 million to go in his personal personal collection. So that's pretty cool. There
And
was
you
a
like
lot
those
of
cars. You like those old.
I love
those
those
old Lola
cars. It's
Fords.
not even likable. It's lovable.
Yeah.
And our bid that we put in didn't go through. We're not the highest bidder, but I did see, which is very interesting, that some of these cars went for don't quote me.
40 grand, 45,000. Yeah.
I thought it was 25.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That some of the lowest were like $25,000. I guess, man, maybe I should have looked at that closer, because to have any of those in my garage, I always tell my son, I said, I'd love to have one in my garage and just fire it up every Saturday morning, early morning. And the answer and the reply I always get is, we'd get kicked out of the neighborhood. I was like, well, maybe, but it'd be a lot of fun.
HSA?
Yep. Like, you can't do that. Now, it's sad to see that they sold them all, but it's good to see that the legacy of a lot of these cars will live on.
I did see somebody tweeted out a picture saying that there were still some cars in inventory there. So I wonder
I would have
piecing it out. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know what you do with these, right? We've seen pictures of like Ganassi's garage that has all those old Reynards on the wall, and a lot of his old cars still hanging around. And I mean, what else are you going to do with them? I guess, right? They're show cars, or whatever. I mean, I guess they are assets, but to your point,
yeah, I think so. I think they're a little bit
more than others, but they got to have a story behind them.
And some guys will go out and driving around the M1 course or whatever course it is, whether it's thermal. If they've got a garage over there and they're going to drive them around every once in a while, you got to keep them up, otherwise they'll never run. But it'd be cool to have one. But it's kind of sad they sold them all, but in a way, it's a good thing.
Speaking of announcements, Tony Kanaan announced as the driver of the 4th Indy 500 entry for Arrow McLaren with NTT sponsorship, Tim.
Yeah.
Do I need to repeat myself?
No, you don't. I can't believe.
On an Arrow McLaren Indy 500 entry.
Yeah.
Tony Kanaan.
NTT is gone, right?
Tim, is this a big deal, or is this a big deal?
It's a big deal. This is a big deal. This is very interesting. They even announced that separation of their partner. Yeah.
And they had that cool video, and they did the thing. Yeah. Right? That was pretty cool.
There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes between Arrow and Chip. Like, Zach and Chip are at each other for sure. So we'll see.
NTT will be on 10 races on Felix Rosenqvist's car this coming season.
Interesting. Very interesting. And then once Alex Palou goes over, I'm
presumably a lot on his car. Yeah.
Yeah. Presumably that's going to be his main sponsor, which is that same car, right? Technically.
The one that you like. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's the same.
Incorporate some papaya there somewhere.
It's Felix's car, right? So they made that decision to move over.
They had a relationship with Felix when Felix drove for Ganassi.
I feel like Zach is throwing all the blows and everybody's taking, the hits, right? It's just one after another. And I don't know how they do it, man. It's crazy.
Is this the right move for Arrow McLaren to take Tony Kanaan in their 4th car? I mean, why not like a Kyle Busch or a Kyle Larson or a Ryan Hunter-Reay? And I'm only kidding on that last part, by the
way. Yeah, I think it's a good move. Fans love Tony. Tony deserves a good ride. And so if Chip wasn't able to make it happen, Zach did, which is still, if I think about that, it just blows my mind. I think it's a good move. I think IndyCar fans want to see Tony back, and I think they would choose Tony over the 2 Kyles that you mentioned for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, the 2 Kyles have their own following, but they're not. There's some blend there with Tony Kanaan, but it's not anywhere near what Tony Kanaan is. Yeah. Outside of Ed Carpenter, Connor Daly, right? Tony Kanaan's cheers, or Elio Castroneves, Tony Kanaan's cheers are right there.
Yeah, they're out of the park every time.
Yeah.
They everybody loves Tony Kanaan, and he's a good advocate for IndyCar. He's a good I don't forget the word I want to use, but
an ambassador
for the IndyCar. Yeah. I saw him. He was at 7-Eleven not too long ago getting a Slurpee or something, and he put something out on social media. It was funny to see all those years in the 7-Eleven car.
Hey, more Indy 500 expansion efforts. This one by Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing. They've announced a fully funded 4th entry. No driver yet. Tim, my first reaction here was, "Oy." I
Not like oi, like we're going on a voyage. Like oi,
no, they had a miserable season last year, and they talked about, well, we had trouble getting people. IndyCar's about people, and we've got great engineering, but we don't have enough people to put it in play, and all. So hey, let's add a fourth car.
and they were terrible at Indy.
They know something I
I'm
don't
happy
know.
for more cars. I'll put it that
So
way.
I guess.
But they need to step up their program. They know that too, and we'll see what comes out of it here.
Who do you think it'll be? You think it'll be Ryan Hunter-Reay?
I don't think so. I think he's done.
This time
His
I'm
name
only
always
half
comes
kidding.
up. I know.
No, I would not surprise me one bit to see him in that car.
Really?
It
Just
would
from
not
an
surprise me
experience
one bit
perspective to
him
say,
in
hey,
that
we
car.
need some help here.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't like it.
I guess so. The point is bumping, right? Bumping will be back at the Indy 500 for 2023. I don't know if that's for real or if that's just optimistic math.
I think it's real.
Right. Guess we'll have to see.
Popularity's gone up. I think there's enough cars to go around, enough engines. Teams seem to have budget. Inflation isn't affecting anybody, so somehow it's going to happen. And they said as many as 36 or 37. That would surprise me. Maybe 35 seems like the right number. I love bumping. So
I hate it for the guys that miss it, right? If there's 34, 35 cars that try to get into this show, I hate it for those guys.
Well, yeah, but that's
40 entries. It is what it is, right? There's 35 entries. That's a drag.
For two people, that's a drag.
Yeah.
All that. Bring your A game.
All that time. Yeah.
Bring your A game and make sure you got speed.
Yep. Hey, Juncos knocked out Fast Freddy.
Sure did.
A few years ago. So
amazing.
You never know, right?
Yep.
Ericsson's victory tour in Sweden, Indy 500 victory tour in Sweden. Tim, big deal or big deal?
Oh, it's a big deal.
It was a big deal. Yes.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Yep.
Yeah.
8,000 fans at his reception. Yeah, at his hometown.
Yes.
It looked pretty cool. Too bad we couldn't have gone, but
it was so cool.
Yeah. So he was all in his Husky gear that I mentioned pre-show and looked good. Had the Borg Warner trophy over there and everything else to go with it. So looked good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Good. Hey, finally, congrats to IMSA driver and champion Jordan Taylor on competing in and completing the Ironman Florida in 10 hours, 20 minutes, and 33 seconds. That's fast.
Oh, wow.
To me, it's fast. I have a friend that did it in 17. That's fast.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good for Jordan Taylor. I didn't know he was, I did see he was doing that.
I saw his
Is that
finish
sort of the same
like,
event Tony Kanaan did?
Yes, same event.
Yeah.
Different event, but same
format. Yeah. That's a lot.
I saw his finish, and just like Tony Kanaan's finish, he looked like he was ready to go. Like he was.
Like he just got done with a walk with his dogs.
Yeah.
Like here we are. Yep.
So good for him. Congratulations.
I think it just speaks volumes that these drivers are athletes.
Premier, right? Elite athletes. You cannot argue that. I mean, some more than
the majority,
certainly, but I don't. I to do what these guys do at sustained heart rates.
Yep.
Right. At over 500 miles or whatever. Or in the case of Taylor, right, who does endurance racing, he doesn't race 24 hours, but but he's there for 24 hours, right? He's in the car for 4. He's there for 24. He's there. Yeah. That's an elevated heart rate, right? That's a stress on your body for 24 hours. 6, 4.
I would have liked to see Tony Stewart do it in his prime.
Yeah. He would have been like my buddy, 17. That's unfair to Tony. You never know.
I know it's unfair.
You know what though? I mean, whatever Smoke decides to put his mind to, he does. I mean,
that is true.
Wonderful team owner. He raced in dragsters, right, a couple weeks ago, and he's our age, Tim.
I know he is.
That's about reaction time, because that's very, very fast. 300 miles an hour, right? And you got to get it off the line
in an eighth of a mile.
Yeah,
not even a quarter. Something crazy.
So, good for him. So that's all I got.
That's all I got too. You already stole my thunder on what I had that was new. But yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, it's good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah, same here. It's been a while.
Yeah. Nice hat, Sonsio Vehicle Protection.
I see you got two. You got one
Yeah,
on your head and one in the background over there. So
we thank the good friends at Sonsio for doing that. We appreciate you doing that.
Yeah,
appreciate you guys engaging with us on social media and everything too. So just like we appreciate you, the listener, engaging with us on social media. So please be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast or on our YouTube channel. We'll continue to bring content every other week during the off season, unless of course Tim gets aggravated by something, then we'll do a special episode. Engage with us on social media, our Twitter and our Instagram. Got an idea for a topic for a show? Send it in. You never know. We'll see what we come up with. Send it to us via Twitter or email or on our YouTube channel, all of which can be found in the show notes. That's all I got. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for everybody.
Good night.